welcome to Hip Hop Therapy. Today we have our special guest, hip hop pioneer, Rahiem from the Furious Five. Welcome. So glad to have you. It's a pleasure and honor.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, hip hop therapy is, to me, a lot of things, but most of all, hip hop has been a form of expression since, it was created for a lot of Black and brown youth and a whole other group of people as well. For you, growing up at the time that you did in the Bronx, like, what was your youth like? How did hip hop, change your perspective and give you that outlet to be heard?
Well, as far as how it changed my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I think that if it were not for the movement that began in the Bronx that ultimately became known as hip hop culture, I think if it were not for that movement influencing me to actively and aggressively take part in it, I think that maybe my life probably would have, ended up really differently, maybe a lot worse than where I am now. And I attribute the support of my mom because she, initially when I came home from my first rap jam at like 4 something in the morning, and I actually performed at this jam and I got paid, and I had on a new dungaree suit, like a new Lee suit, new sneakers that she didn't buy for me, and I was 16, and when I came home, I was in trouble, and she thought I was selling drugs, and I assured her that I was not, and she asked me, "Well, where did you get those clothes from?" And so I told her I had a job. She was like, "You don't have no job. You ain't even got working papers yet. I didn't take you to get your working papers." And I was like, "It's not that kind of job, Mom." She was like, "Okay, well, you don't have my permission to work." So maybe about a week, no, about 2 weeks or so later, my crew, my first crew at the time, called the Brothers Disco, DJ Breakout, DJ Baron, and the original Funky Four MCs, featuring the first female MC, my sister Shah Rock, KK Rockwell, Keith, and myself, Rahiem. We were the Funky Four. And so we had another jam coming up, and my DJ Breakout and Baron came around my high school, Truman High School in Co-op City in the Bronx, and they had a stack of flyers, and they gave me a stack of flyers, and the flyers had our pictures on it. And so I gave the flyers out in school, but I made sure that I kept a couple to bring home with me to show my mom. And so when I got home, I showed my mom, because I was on punishment, because I got home at like 4:30 in the morning. And so I showed my mom the flyer, and she was like, I was like, "Mom, this is what I do. Like, I'm an MC." And she was like, "Well, I don't care. You won't be MCing at that party. Only way you're gonna be MCing at that party is if I go with you." And I was like, "What? You ain't said nothing but a word, my girl. What you wearing this Friday?"
Right? I love it.
So I took her to the party. It was at a community center in the North Bronx, in the projects called Eden Wall Houses. And when we walked in, the air in the community center reeked of marijuana and angel dust. But my mom completely tuned all of that out and just focused on what I was doing and what I was there for. And she was like, okay. And I never got any flack from her again after
Mhm.
that.
How did it make you feel having that connection with your mom? Just be able to experience something you both, I mean, you loved, and it's like, look, this is a new world, like, check it out kind of thing.
That was everything for me because you know, every child's parent isn't as
Mhm.
supportive. And a child, you know, children dream, everybody dreams. And the worst thing in the whole world to have is somebody that you absolutely love the ground beneath their feet not support your dream. Like that's crushing. But
Yeah, it is. And that's a frequent story too.
it really is. And
Mhm.
but I will say, that the biggest supporter of your dream should be you first.
Mhm.
And that way, the the level of support that you have for yourself should override any non-support that you don't have if you truly believe. And then if you have a group of supporters or people who believe in what you do, that you know that goes a long way. you know
Mm, for sure. I mean, that's to me, that's how hip hop became what it is today. You know, hip hop was supposed to be a trend, and look at it. And
yeah, we heard that growing up, don't quit that day job, or you got to make sure you have something to fall back on, or we heard all of those things. And we literally did it out of love and the fact that um, there was another musical genre that had a movement during that time, and that was the disco movement.
Mhm.
And the disco movement, they were like our older brothers and sisters, and they shunned us. They completely, like, whenever they referenced us, they spoke of us condescendingly. um, and they didn't allow us to participate in their events. So we had to figure out, and create events for ourselves. So hip hop became that for us. And initially, you know, um, most most uh, pioneers of hip hop, whether they're DJs or MCs or B-boys,
Mhm.
uh, they usually started out trying every different facet of the culture before they figured out where they fit, right?
Mm.
And so um, B-boys, B-boys were really, first it started out obviously with Cool Herc, but then, the reason why Cool Herc was successful um, and was seen as like the god of all hip hop DJs. There weren't
Mhm.
many at that time, but he was like the top. And so the reason why he was seen as that is because the B-boys were like a migrational group, and
Mhm.
they flocked to wherever the DJs that were playing the beats that they like to get down to. Get down was breakdancing. That's what they called it getting down. And the get down part of the song was the break beat. You know what I mean? So, so all of those things, and a lot of the terminology, B-boys, you know, now as far as like the emceeing, that's different. Kool Herc's MCs didn't pioneer. They're pioneers, but they didn't pioneer the style of emceeing that that transcended to today.
Right.
The MC who is responsible for that is actually a legendary member of the disco movement, and his name is DJ Hollywood. So he influenced all of the hip hop MCs, but DJ Hollywood didn't really say a lot of long form rhymes, because the records that he would rhyme to, they were all disco. But at the time that he was like really the top in his movement, saying long form rhymes wasn't the thing, because they didn't say long form rhymes to build a song. So putting long form rhymes didn't come into play for MCs until Grandmaster Flash created the backspin.
Okay.
Because that's what extended the break beats to enable an MC to be able to say a long form, to say 16 bars or more.
One thing that stood out to me was the word acceptance. You notice how you mentioned like each person, if they took an interest in hip hop, they would try each thing until they found kind of like their tribe, their form of acceptance, the thing that connected to them as their outlet. That's very important.
Yeah, I started out as a wannabe graffiti writer.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you know, I tagged my name in a few places, not on any trains, because I didn't get that far, that advanced. And to me, I couldn't draw a straight line, and I didn't see for myself, being a graffiti artist, I didn't see any real future in that. So I tried it for a little while, tagged my name on a couple of hallway building walls. And ultimately I wound up changing my name anyway. So I didn't keep the pseudonym name that I used to tag on the walls as my MC. Okay. So my graffiti name was Crazy T, because my government name is Guy Todd Williams. So Crazy T was Todd.
Right.
So when I became an MC, which was after I tried b-boying, I tried to be a b-boy. And I can dance. Like I'm a pretty, you know, I got good rhythm, and I can, you know, I used to imitate James Brown before I tried my hand at b-boying, and my mom would like have me come and entertain guests whenever a house party.
Love it. That's great.
So, but So I tried my hand at b-boying, and I was decent at it, but I didn't like getting my clothes dirty. So,
Mm.
I didn't like uh, scuffing up my new sneakers and all of that to do a fly move. I didn't care, how dope the move
Yeah, you're trying to look fresh. I can really understand.
was. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, um, either DJing or emceeing was the logical choice. And I could DJ, but I didn't have any DJ equipment. So
Mm.
emceeing was the logical, choice because all I needed was my mind, um, maybe some records, which I got a hold of, and a way to, you know, record myself. So I had a little for a minute. I had a little, cassette recorder, and then I got a flip, when 4 tracks were introduced. Um, so once that happened, I was off and running. But my first uh, my first way of, you know, uh,
The
uh,
expression. Yeah.
saving my rhymes was a black and white composition notebook. That's it.
Hmm.
I had about 4 or 5 of them filled with my rhymes. And what made me even decide to become an MC was a guy in my school. He called himself Jazzy Joe. And I mean, like, he didn't have like really dope rhymes. His rhymes were kind of like corny and elementary,
Mhm.
but like every girl in the whole school like followed him everywhere he went, like the Pied Piper, because he
Mhm.
because he said these rhymes. And so this was my freshman year in the school, and he was a sophomore, and I watched him like every day for like 2 weeks, and like every single day for like
Mhm.
2 whole. It seemed like every girl in the school like just followed him everywhere, like in between classes. And I'm like, damn, I want every girl in the school to follow me around. So I went up to him one day and I introduced myself and I was like, yo, can I hang out with you? He was like,
Mhm.
all right, yeah, you can hang out with me. So I started hanging out with him. And I just learned, how he put his rhymes together or whatever. And then I started writing rhymes of my own. And then one day, when I felt like I had enough of my own rhymes, I challenged him in school, and we had a little friendly battle, and I won. And then all the girls in the school was following me around.
Aw, I love that. That's a beautiful story.
Yeah. So that's how I came up with this little slogan, Rahiem in all the ladies' dreams. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow, full circle. So I know you said that you were writing rhymes at the time. Like, what were you writing about? What? Because I know at that time there was a lot of party records.
Yeah,
Um,
it was. Yeah.
Mhm. So
Um, oh, I'm sorry.
no, I was gonna say. So how did like what were your rhymes? Were they typical party records or?
Yeah, yeah, they were definitely they were typical party song or party records. Uh, um, I think maybe my my content didn't start to change until the 80s, but I didn't really start emceeing in the early 70s. I started in 1978, and I joined my first rap group, which was the Funky Four, in 1978, and
Mhm.
then 1979, the Funky Four battled Grandmaster Flash and Furious 4, May 11th, 1979, at the Webster Avenue PAL in the Bronx. And Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 4 won the battle, but a couple of days after the battle, Melly Mel, and at the time his name was Mr. Ness, and he later changed it to Scorpio. They came to my mom's house to ask me if I would be down to join their group. So in, I believe it was August of '79, I joined their group. And then by September of '79, we recorded our first single.
Wow, that's crazy. And I mean, it's amazing. That's just hip hop history, in a nutshell. But one question I have is the message. The message is the first socially conscious hip hop song. Um, what made you all like divert from party records to talk about what's really going on? Because no one was talking about that, you know?
Right. So really, the message, the music, nor the lyrics, with the exception of the last verse, "A child is born with no need of mine." The last verse of the message was written by Melly Mel, which was actually a verse on a previously recorded song of ours called Super Rapid. That was our second single. Excuse me. And so after we, so basically the message, the lyrics, with the exception of the last verse, was written by a brother named Edward Fletcher, or AKA Duke Booty. And he was also a musician who composed the music. And so what happened was, Sylvia Robinson, the president of Sugar Hill Records, had presented the song, the message, to a few other artists who were signed to Sugar Hill Records at the time, but none of them wanted to do it. None of them wanted to. And so when we signed to her, after we had released a few successful party songs, she came to us with the message because we were from the Bronx, and it fit us more than it fit any of the other artists who were signed to Sugar Hill, she felt. And she said that she felt like it would take our careers to a new height or whatever. So reluctantly, we recorded the song, but the way that we did it was we were all auditioned to be on the song to see who was going to be on it, because the whole group wasn't going to be on it, like how we recorded the party songs.
Right.
And so when it was my turn to go in the booth, I spit Melly Mel's verse from our song Super Rappin', A Child is No State of Mind. And she loved it, and she wanted to keep my recording. I said, no, Miss, that's Melly Mel's verse. I just spit that verse because I feel like it fit the song. And she was like, yo, that was a great call. Okay, Mel. So you go in the booth and you say your rhyme then. And so that's how Melly Mel got on the song.
That's a great executive decision on your part, because I feel like it's a very important piece of the song too. To imagine that not being there.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course. I mean, so, what was everybody's reaction when you put that out? Because like you said, a lot of groups that were on that same label turned that down, and then for it to become a success, like, I don't know. I imagine that's
What was the other group's reaction?
Yeah. Yeah, do they embrace it? Do they feel, oh, let's start doing socially conscious songs?
They couldn't help but embrace it because you know we go on tour together and we perform that song. Uh, you know, it was over. Like we killed it. You know, when that song was hot, that was like the hottest song.
Mhm.
The song that rivaled that song, and it was hot in its own regard, but not a socially conscious song at that time, was Planet Rock. And that was
Mm.
the reason why we wanted to do a party song, because Planet Rock was on fire. And right before the message, Planet Rock was everywhere. Like you couldn't go anywhere and turn on any radio, um, and I mean, and hear any radio that wasn't playing Planet Rock. So we wanted to do a song like Planet Rock. And
Mhm.
so, well, okay, I'll make a